Hi everyone, my name is Nandi Devin. My students call me Mr. Nandi, and welcome to Back to School Night for the 2020-21 school year. And I'm here to talk about marine biology, which is a class that I really enjoy teaching, and I've taught it for the last couple of years now. This is my third year, so I'm excited to share some of the details about this class and what you guys can expect and what the students can expect. Just a little bit about me before we get into the class. I was born and raised just down the road here on the 8 in Yuma, Arizona. I have been married for only 1 month. My wife and I got married on August 8th this summer, and we do have two dogs. You can see them down here. We have Jackson and Tucker. So this was taken a couple years ago. So they are a little bit older and grayer now, but Jackson is our handsome boxer, and then we got little Tucker down here, but they do love each other. We both of us lived abroad for 2 years together. We lived in Guatemala a couple years ago. We came back. We were there for 2 years, and I'll get into that in a little bit in a couple slides. So, a couple of our hobbies. My hobbies, we both of us really enjoy traveling, particularly traveling abroad. It's a really big part of who we are and what we do. So, obviously we're not doing any traveling right now, but we dearly miss it, and it's a really big part, and that it's really influenced both of us greatly throughout our lives. I enjoy gardening. I have a big vegetable garden here at our house. I enjoy cooking a lot as well, and we just bought a house in November, so almost a year ago, and so I do like working around the house a lot and fixing up and working with power tools. My professional background. I got my Bachelor of Science from the University of Arizona in ecology and evolutionary biology. I worked for 2 years there in a lab studying fungal ecology. And after I graduated, I worked in 3 different locations around the United States doing wildlife conservation. So I worked in Cape Cod for a summer in Massachusetts. And then I moved to the Vegas area working with desert tortoises. And then I moved to San Diego, where I worked for the zoo for a summer, also doing some wildlife conservation work. I just finished my Master's of Education from the University of San Diego. And previously, before CHS, I worked at High Tech High in Point Loma. I worked at Museum School, which is a small charter school in Bankers Hill. And then I worked in Guatemala. So I was a teacher down there. You can see down here, this is the campus. So this is, beautiful, beautiful campus. You can see there's actually 3 volcanoes there in the background. One of them is covered up by an eruption, so no big deal there. But no, it's a huge influence on my work as a teacher. My 2 years down there, and I wouldn't take it back. So it was a wonderful experience, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about my experience down there. A little bit more about this class is, I really want my students, and this is just for all sciences, not just marine biology, but science is all about problem solving and not only identifying problems, but I really want to encourage my students, and I guide my students to find solutions to those problems. And so, one of the techniques that we do is, we use a lot of collaboration. So that's something that my students can expect from this class, is that they're going to be working in groups really regularly. In fact, we're currently working on a project right now where they're writing a script to a podcast about the importance of the ocean and why it's important to preserve the ocean. And they're doing so, in groups of 4. So, that's going to be a regular occurrence in this class, is that really highly collaborative nature and making that content relevant. We are really lucky to be living in the San Diego area. And so the ocean is a huge part of the economy. It's a huge part of the culture that we have here. And having that personal connection to the science content that we cover in this class is really important. I acknowledge that most of the students in this class are not going to become scientists. And so I think that's, it's even more important because of that, to have those personal connections and make those personal connections. So to do that, we use a lot of interdisciplinary elements. So maybe there's some students in the class that really are interested in business, or maybe there's some that are interested in, law, for example. So how can we bring in, or art, right? How can we bring in those disciplines into our science class to engage those students more and see those connections? So we do use a lot of PBL, which is project-based learning, which, by nature is very collaborative. And really emphasizing, this is one of the key things about the whole course is, what are the interactions that humans have with the ocean, with marine ecosystems, and how do we depend on the ocean on so many different things? Because we do, and I think students may not see that, and I think they don't see that. So that's one of my goals, is to show my students how important it is to protect these ecosystems. Once we're back in the classroom, hopefully when things are kind of normalized, we'll have some on and off island field trips. So, the big field trip for this class is SeaWorld. We'll see what what comes in the next few months, but normally we'll go in January, February. But crossing my fingers that we'll be able to go. Outside experts is something that I like to bring in as well. So in the past, I've had a professor from San Diego State come in, who's a kelp forest ecologist, and he helped us with a big project we had a couple of years ago. Last year, I had some fisheries biologists from Florida do a Skype call with us, a Skype Q&A after a big project. So I do bring in outside experts to get that expertise and those professional perspectives to my students, especially for those who are really interested in becoming marine biologists. So for student activities and that we'll do in this class, I'm not big on lecturing. I will do lectures, obviously, when it comes to notes for each unit, but it won't be a ton. For hands-on activities, I'm finding the best ways of doing that during distance learning. And labs as well. We'll be using something called Gizmos to kind of make up for those labs. I'm not big on quizzes and tests in marine biology, so to mainly assess what they've learned is through these big projects, such as like the podcast project that we're doing. There will be tests and quizzes, but it's not going to be like your typical course where you may have one like every single unit. And in this class, if they're focused and they're working with each other and working with me, they're not going to have very much homework, right? Because a lot of that work will be done in class. So as long as they're focused and they're getting done what they need to get done in class, they'll be kind of set, after class, right? So they won't have much homework if that's the case. So I want to show you what our PowerSchool page looks like. This is the home page, and they're all familiar with how to access Zoom here. They can request a meeting. So if they want to meet with me individually and talk about something after school, like maybe they have some questions, they want to review a concept, questions about a certain assignment or project, they can request a meeting here, and then this link is where they'll meet me in the Zoom. So it's a completely separate Zoom link from the course. The unit pages, they're going to be pretty standard throughout. So we're going to have unit notes here on the left side. There'll generally be a video here on the right side, and then there'll be an assignment block as well where they can turn things in. So let me go to this podcast project that we're working on. So they can turn in assignments here. It'll say hand in for them, but for me it says view work. So they're familiar with how to turn in work, but it'll say hand in. They'll turn in a Google Doc that way. And the calendar is a great resource. So if they go to the calendar, you can see everything is laid out in a nice kind of visual format. So you can see that, they had something due last Friday and then the Wednesday before that. And it lays everything out in a nice calendar format in case, they want a kind of a one go-to spot for that. And for all you parents, if you want to meet with me individually about anything at all, then if you go to the welcome page, there is a link here. It says schedule a personal meeting. Feel free to click this link. It'll bring you to a bunch of times that will be available to meet with me, and I'm happy to talk about the course or my experience in Guatemala or whatever it is, and maybe talk about your student or your child in my class and how I can better support you and them. So don't hesitate to reach out if you need to. So but other than that, I love teaching this course, so I'm looking forward to it again this year. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. So thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.